Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and Attawandaron. We acknowledge the local First Nations communities in this area, the territory of the Chippewa of the Thames, the Oneida of the Thames, and the Munsee Delaware Nation. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous people who call this territory home. Today, the City of London and Middlesex County is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work and live in this territory. Completion and acceptance of the agenda. I propose to add two items. One is a new matter that Kathleen wanted to raise, which she can explain when she raises it in new business. And Mayor Grantham has a matter that he wants to raise in new business. And I can indicate that we will have one verbal in-camera matter that we did not have before. So would someone move those amendments to the agenda? Moved by Mayor Grantham, seconded by Kathleen Savoy. All in favor? All right, so we now have that amended agenda. If I forget any of the things that I've added, please remind me when we get to those items. Any disclosures of interest today? There being none, we will go to approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, which was August 15th. I'm going to assume that everyone had a chance to review those minutes. So are there any changes or corrections from anyone? All right, someone prepared to move that then?
I'll move it.
Moved by Greg, seconded by Mayor Grantham. Any questions or comments? All in favor? That matter is approved. We have no communications, delegations, or consent items today. The only thing I wanted to indicate was that we are on Zoom today. That is not normal procedure for us. We have a number of people away today, and I particularly want to recognize our two elected individuals. They are very, very busy. They have a directly conflicting matter with the meeting tonight. So I just, normally they are fantastic in attending. Other people had conflict. So normally we will meet in person for our board meetings. And we also are not going to be doing the workshop on tenant complaints and enforcement strategies just because we don't have everyone here, and we will do that on occasion when everyone's present. But I continue to stress the importance of having quorum at meetings, committee meetings, board meetings, so that we do the business of the corporation. So enough about that. Reports and business. We have the Finance Committee reports for approval. What I intend on doing is asking the chair to just make any comments on them, then on all of them, and then I'm going to move them and have them moved and seconded as a package. And then if anyone has any questions about any particular report or any particular aspect, I know they were all approved by the Finance Committee. So let's start out with moving and seconding reports 9A through F. Moved by Chair Thompson, seconded by Mayor Grantham. All right, so what I'm going to ask now is the chair of the committee, Greg, to just provide us, if he can, with any of the highlights out of those reports.
So the common thread here, these are all approvals for contracts for the organization to enter into. We did have like lengthy meeting for finance a couple of weeks ago, and all the contracts were presented, as indicated there. Christine and Paul spoke to them, and John and Andrea McKenzie. Probably the biggest one from a financial viewpoint is the insurance. We're paying over $1 million a year on our insurance premium. There's good discussion around that. And the other contracts I would describe as in the normal course of business. Snow removal, switch with the phone system, which does involve terminating existing contract, but the merit in that is aligning all the contracts to now start on the same date. We had an original provider with Execulink. We got a very competitive bid. We are lowering our cost by the new provider for the phone system. And then the last couple items had to do with paving that John spoke to, both Dorchester and Allen Rush. So that's fairly high level, but all passed by the Finance Committee.
Thank you very much. So with that explanation, we have staff here, and you'll see all of them if there's a question on a particular report, staff is here to answer questions on those reports. You'll see the people who are responsible, but so we'll open up for questions, please. Doesn't appear to be any questions. That's fine, since it went through committee and we did ask quite a number of questions. Sarah, you have a question?
Yeah, about the snow one. In the page 9, you say a renewal for 2 or 1 year. Is because you want to have the 2 options, or is because it's 2 or is 1 year for, I mean, a new contract and then 2 or 1 year of renewal?
Okay. Christine?
Hi, yes, and thank you through the chair. So this contract is a 2-year contract with option of a 1-year extension.
So it's not 2 year. So there is a mistake.
No, it's
Page 9 says
Yes.
2 years.
So it is, sorry, it is an actual 2-year contract with the vendor. And at the end of that 2-year contract, we have the option to continue or renew the existing contract for an additional year.
So it is for a period of 2 years with an
Yes.
option for 1 year, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So there is a mistake.
yeah. So yeah, and I was under the impression it was 2 1-year extensions. So typically our contract approval is for a set period of time to give certainty to the vendor, and then 2 1-year extensions as a max. So we will confirm that. And Christine, do you know off the top of your head on the RFP which the language was for 1 potential year extension or 2?
Sorry, you're right. It is a 2 1-year extension at
Yeah.
the end of the 2-year contract. My
Okay.
apologies, yes.
So the intent is if the economic environment changes or the service is not to standard, we have an ability to
Yeah.
renegotiate and deal with that. So yes.
Okay, perfect.
Does
Thank you.
does that answer your question, Sarah?
Yeah, it is.
Great, thank you. Any further questions on any of the reports? I'll give you a second. No? So we moved and seconded all of them, so all in favor?
Can I just point of
Yep.
order? The report E, if I remember correctly, let me just grab the agenda here.
Yeah, go ahead.
For F, staff report market rental rate was not previously reviewed by the finance committee. That is so that one, if we can exclude, and then we can present that. Just to,
okay, I wasn't aware of that. Sorry, they were all sort of included. Okay.
yeah,
So what we're going to do then, I'll assume the motion was made with regard to reports A through E, and we moved and seconded them. So all those in favor of those? Yep, thank you. So we're now going to present, or the staff will present Finance Committee Report 9F, which is the staff report on market rental rate. So who is going? I don't see Andrea here. Paul, go ahead, Paul.
yes. So I will present that report. This is and through the chair, it is the practice of LMCH to receive approval for market rent increases through the board of directors, one for transparency, and just that elicits conversations to make sure we're compliant with city guidelines. So our annual rent increases is set by the Ministry of Housing. So it's published on their website every summer. And so 2.5% is the percent we're allowed to increase our market rents for existing tenants. So what LMCH is asking is that we increase the market rent by 2.5% for all sitting tenants. And we do that via notice. We give them 90 days. So we'll issue those notice starting November 1st with increases starting February 1st. Where the majority of our tenants are RGI, they're not impacted by this, but it's a measure of just keeping the market rents as current as we can. So we're just looking for approval from the board of directors to do that. You'll see in the appendix what our current market rental rates are in Appendix A and what they're going to, sort of how they've progressed over time. And just in transparency, there will be a report going to the next finance committee recommending a reset of the full market rents on unit turnover to get back in line with the market. You'll see some of the rental rates are quite low. So just this will be coming for further discussion at the next Finance and Audit Committee.
Okay, just for clarification, you said this doesn't affect our RGI clients. Can you just unpackage that, maybe explain that for us?
So our more than 95% of our tenants on an ongoing basis receive a subsidy for the housing they live in. And that subsidy is traditionally based on 30% of their income. So if the tenant has $1,000 income, they're going to pay a $300 rent. So whether the market rent for that unit is $950 or $975, the most they're going to pay is $300 because we have a back-end system that calculates how much rent they pay. So this is really just a valuation of the value of that unit should that person no longer be eligible for a subsidy or their income is too high, those types of things, they will pay that market rent. So if you were making $1,000 a month and you're paying $300 for your unit, and now you're all of a sudden making $5,000 a month and the market rent for a unit is $1,000, then you're going to pay $1,000. But if you won't pay it according to your income of 30% of 5,000, you'll only pay up to the max of the market rent. So where we say 95 to 98% of our tenants regularly are receiving a subsidy, so they're not impacted by this. So it's only those at full market rent that would see this increase, and we'll give them 90 days notice.
All right, thank you. Is someone prepared to move and second this, please? And then we'll get any questions. Moved by Kathleen, seconded by Sarah. Questions, please, for Paul on this report. Mayor Grantham?
Thanks, Chair. I did note, Paul, it's a small percentage, 1.5%. It'd be nice for the financial viability to see that number somehow, someday creep up. And my second comment is, since Strathroy Caradoc runs two of our own buildings and I'm aware of market rate, and looking at the ones in Strathroy, unbelievably low rent. Just general comment, the market rate, our new building we opened in Mount Bridges, I want to say one bedroom is $1,600. So this is very affordable rent. This is below affordable rent. So I just want to make those comments for the committee, being aware of what market rates are. This is extremely low rental.
Thank you very much. Other questions or comments? Doesn't appear to be. All right, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of approving this? And that is completed. So all of the reports have been completed. As I indicated, there's not going to be a workshop tonight just because we'd rather do it when we have everyone here. It's an important one, just as a tenant complaints and enforcement is a pretty important issue for us. So that'll be, just so I understand, Paul, when will that come back in front of us? Next meeting or?
I think we'll have to have a conversation. The next meeting is going to be quite fulsome.
Okay.
So I think we will have to schedule it. I know we do have a workshop scheduled for January, so we may move there or we could find a date. So
right.
we'll meet as executive committee to determine when to bring that back.
Thank you. So with that, we do have an in-camera, although the agenda indicated we didn't. We do have an in-camera item, so I'm going to need a motion to go in camera. Somebody move that, please. Moved by Mayor Grantham, seconded by Sarah. All those in favor? All right. Is everybody going to be here for this meeting, or who will?
The others back.
John is back and Christine is back. Great. So first item we're going to deal with is the item that Kathleen wanted to raise. And so Kathleen, I'll have you present it and then staff can respond and we'll see where it goes.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, I just have been noticing over the past years, as the seasons change, the window air conditioners that tenants use remain in the windows all winter long. Some of them are on in the winter too. You can hear them as you're walking by. I am just horribly concerned about this because we just spent over $1 million putting in new furnaces. And I think about the worst thing, one of the worst things you can do to a new furnace is run an air conditioner at the same time and have an open window and gaps and I wonder about mold, I wonder about everything, but I really am concerned with protecting these new assets, which are the new furnaces, and getting those window air conditioners out of the windows. Some of them are literally installed with cardboard and duct tape, which is not up to spec at all. I saw in the Facebook page for London Middlesex Community Housing, there was a post this summer outlining for tenants the proper installation of the window air conditioner and the rules about it, that it can't be noisy and such. So I just wonder, what are we doing now that the seasons are changing to get these air conditioners out of the windows?
Okay, so I don't know who would talk about that process, the plans, what we can do, what we can't do. Can I just, I mean, this may be straightforward, but I'm assuming none of these units have central air conditioning. In other words, that's just not something that they have. So people need air conditioning in the summer and they need heat in the winter. So I can appreciate the need, but I guess it's the mitigation of the cost. So does anybody want to?
So I think just maybe get Christine to sort of go over sort of current practice and maybe some of the gaps, and then we can sort of talk about the sort of, if there's a legal framework we need to consider, and then we can look at what's reasonable to do this year and what can we do on a more proactive, ongoing basis. But I know I shared Kathleen's email with Christine earlier this week. So
Okay, Christine.
Yes, hi, and thank you through the chair, Kathleen. I feel your concern because I too see it as we drive through our properties, and we do see the AC units and the way they are installed. We have, like you said, posted information for the tenants requesting that the AC units be installed properly. And for winter time, we will be providing documentation by the end of October. We're working on it now, and it's a notice to tenants to give suggestions, recommendations on the proper way to winterize their homes. And I mean, it will include topics such as AC units, putting back in window panes that may have been removed, also for the installation of the units, closing windows securely and tightly, and other items as well, right? So we can send this out to the tenant for sure by the end of October. End of November, we can actually send out more information on AC units and proper installation as a reminder for reporting any damages. I guess my concern as well is to demand they take the units out is a little bit treading on, I don't know how you want to say that, Paul. It's we can't just demand they remove all the window or all their AC units, understanding that come springtime to have to reinstall them again in the windows once again, and to request them to get a different kind of AC unit as well is also incurring additional costs. So I think, to your point, the winterization of the units is what we will be focusing on, and giving the key suggestions and recommendations on what to do in order for the furnaces to run efficiently, and how to set their thermostats and such.
So
I guess what I would ask, I mean, I'm thinking as a lawyer, I mean, what could you legal, and I'm just jumping in, what could you legally, I mean, if somebody has an air conditioner in their window and they leave it there all winter and cold air's coming in, you can't just go to them and say, take out that air conditioner. What steps would you have to take, Christine, to enforce that? If the person just says, forget about it. I'm not doing it.
We don't have anything in our lease that I have seen that prohibits the installation of the air conditioning units. There is nothing that they have signed that said they can't do it. So for me to go in now and tell them they can't do it, I have no legal leg really to stand on. During an annual unit inspection, however, if we see that the AC unit is installed incorrectly, and we see that there's damage to the drywall underneath due to proper drainage, or we see that there's been damage to the window or the window frame, of course, then we can action it as repair and maintenance and repair to damage. But to go in and demand that they remove it, we have nothing in the lease currently.
So they can just have these units in the window all winter long without any consequences? Like, that damages our property. That's very upsetting.
So in damages, are you I'm sorry, are you referring to the window, the wall, or the efficiency of the furnace?
Well, the efficiency of well, all of it. And besides that, when those conditions exist, it's my understanding that it promotes the growth of mold, which is like, that's a nightmare to deal with. Like, I have a beautiful unit that I treat it like gold. I hired a company to come in and suck out the ductwork, and really, I'm interested in taking care of these properties so they're good for years to come. But if they're allowed to be abused by people being careless, we're not going to have them. Like, it just, it's at this
Okay,
point
so maybe I
where,
can jump in.
yeah.
Let's think if we can move to something. When Christine said we don't have anything in our lease currently, would it be possible to get some kind of a report back rather than trying to fix the problem tonight? Get a report back to provide us with options to deal with this issue in terms of, can we put something in a lease that that it has to be installed by us or something like that? I mean, I'm just thinking out loud, but I think it merits a report back to the appropriate committee, just to say, how can we address Kathleen's issue? Not solve it tonight, but how can we address it? Because you did say there's nothing in our lease now. I'm assuming private landlords must have something in their leases that say you can't.
Yeah, I would comment on that. I know standard form of our leases for rental apartments, forbid using anything like that. So, there's obviously clauses out there that you could put in if the organization chooses going forward to essentially outlaw the air conditioners, but then you could, put in maybe a form or terms of use saying, if you are going to install an air conditioner, it's got to be under the following terms and conditions, and have people sign and acknowledge that. Is that getting a little heavy-handed and complicated for our tenant base? I don't know the answer to that. That could be the case, maybe not. But there would be, my opinion would be, there'd be options out there. So yeah, that's something that can be looked into.
But if we don't have air conditioning, central air conditioning in our units, surely we can't prohibit people from having some form of air conditioner. But we could put something in. Could we not at least look at it? I don't practice law in that area. So, somebody would be able to tell us, here's what you could possibly put in a lease to make sure you're at least requiring people to appropriately install an air conditioning unit, or even have us install it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So I think if I could jump in, maybe just provide a little bit of a framework. So through the chair, and just to support the conversation, we are making changes to our lease right now. So there will be some reports coming, and I'm not sure if it's ready for the next People Service and Housing Committee, or it's going to have to go into the first one in Q1 2025, where we're going to be making changes to our lease related to tenant insurance and other matters that require us to amend the lease. And we've made some standard changes. I just don't have it in front of me, so I don't know if we've added that air conditioner clause in. So that is something we can do and propose. I think there's two things that sort of we need to consider as an organization. If we put a clause in the lease, is it enforceable? And as an organization, are we willing to terminate somebody's housing because they're not compliant with the air conditioning clause in their lease? So we really have to be thoughtful about that to make sure that we're not creating some false work that's not going to ultimately either be supported by the landlord tenant board or our own sort of approach to managing compliance in this matter. And so there's all kinds of clauses out there, Mr. Thompson had indicated that they're used by other landlords and they're enforceable. So we have to think about that. And I think, and just to the point of, LMCH does not want to be in the business of installing air conditioners. From a liability perspective, for a staff use perspective, even outside vendoring, we cannot afford the cost. So what is a reasonable expectation on a tenant? And that's what we can do. We can't get into the, dedicating 15 staff to go around for 4 weeks to take out air conditioners and put them back in on various sites. We do not have the resources to do that. So we have to be thoughtful about that process. While we want to make sure they're installed correctly, what is the mechanism we can do to make sure we do that and sort of make sure that the asset is protected, as Kathleen's saying. So I think let us go back and look at the lease clauses and see what we can do there, and then what potential enforcement could be. And it may be in the form of a policy that comes to the board that's shared with tenants, so we can sort of figure out what that mechanism is.
Okay. Mayor Grantham,
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, Paul's comment precluded my question, which was gonna be piggyback on your second comment. Phil, could we do something as an organization? I think Paul brought up about the liability issue, so my question's null and void.
So when this report comes back, will it mention, even if it says, here's what we can do, but we're not going to do it because we don't want to install and remove air conditioners or whatever. But here's a policy that we can put in place that if they breach it, we can consider whether we're going to take enforcement action. Just because we can doesn't mean we're going to. Sometimes it's just a reminder to someone that we're not going to take a step yet, but if they continue to have their air conditioner on all winter, we may.
Yeah, and I think we just need to sort of reflect on that. So I think
Yep.
we can come back specifically on the air conditioning concept and sort of just here's the framework that we have to think about. It will also likely come back as a portion of here's our new lease, here's what we tried to adjust and what we're trying to improve accountability on, because the new lease is about improving accountability in certain areas. So that'll be highlighted. But yeah, it is a little bit more complicated than just getting all our maintenance repair staff out and taking all the air conditioners out, putting them in the basement, replacing the window panes and doing all that. Like
No, I
there's
don't
quite
think
an
anybody's
energy there.
suggesting that. They're just saying, I
Yeah.
would suggest something that it has to be installed according to these criteria, and
Yeah.
not that it has to be installed by us. And if I said that, I didn't mean it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
would somebody bring a motion for staff to come back to the appropriate committee with either a standalone report or as part of another report, a report with regard to the issues raised by Kathleen this evening? Moved by Mayor Grantham. I'll let you second it, Kathleen. Yeah, that's okay with you. I think a report back and it's a good issue. So all those in favor?
Absolutely.
Great. So we'll, and what I used to do at City Hall, Kathleen, is when staff never came back with a report, I reminded them at some point. But our staff's not like that. They'll bring it back in a really timely manner.
Well, thanks for adding this to the agenda.
Oh, no problem. I didn't forget about it. I just wanted to do that now. So we'll move on from that matter to Mayor Grantham's matter, and I'll turn it over to you, Mayor Grantham.
No, thank you, and to the board, I'm gonna bring a formal motion on behalf of the county that we ask management or staff, if you will, to bring forward a business case for a new build within the county. I think that pretty well sums up what I'm looking for. I mean, it's taken me almost 2 years to figure out how to do this. I have spoken to both, staff at the county level and some of the staff at London City Hall as how to get this done, and I think the best avenue is just have a business case brought forward so we can proceed from there. I mean, it's all going to go down to to the dollars and cents. That's why I need a business case before we proceed any further, but I'm open for questions, but I am bringing that formal motion to ask, staff bring a business case of a new build within the county.
Thank you. I think before we go to questions, maybe I'll just have Paul address that. I mean, we're talking about a business case. Is there any problem with doing that? We're not
No,
approving anything. We're just,
no, I will share that there is an RFP currently on the market, is due to close to complete the regeneration strategy. And as part of that RFP process, we've included the requirement for business cases to support regeneration. So this is in line with what we're asking someone to come in and do to support us to do that. And it considers both sort of what I would call quick hits in regeneration. What can we do in the next 2 years? And what is our longer term strategy in regeneration so that we can get at some of those pieces while the funding may still be available. So this is in line with what the organization is aimed to do. We have a process in place right now to bring in somebody to help us create that business case. So this is what a friendly request, I guess, from the perspective of the corporation. And then we can provide an update on the timing of some of these things when we talk about the award for this RFP at the next board meeting.
okay.
That is that we plan to bring it to the November board meeting, so we can sort of make sure that area is sort of explained in that board report.
Okay, so would a motion just to say that what Mayor Grantham is talking about will be included or addressed in our this whatever's coming back to us, our plan?
Yeah, and I think and just maybe if one of the key things I guess I'm just sort of processing here is that I think of importance would be that there's an understanding of the timeliness of when the consultant and LMCH can provide that business case. So I think that should be, we should be presenting some sort of perspective on that in the November report. So I think if we do that, that gives the board a sense of the timing of this, and we can sort of talk about if that's an appropriate.
But that's
timeline.
different than a business case. A business case means the board would be directing you to develop a business case, as Mayor Grantham said. What you're talking about is somebody's coming to us with, will that regeneration plan, I guess, include a business case for
that, and that's specifically called out to produce these business cases. So through that, we can talk about the timing of those business cases or priorities for the regeneration plan and try to get that timeline. So we can come back and speak to that at the Finance Audit Committee in November, and then the board meeting. And then we will, I think if there is a motion, I think it just asks that we're clear on what you're looking for and when. So if you have the assurance that we're going to do the business case is fine in November, but you want to see something by Q1 2025, we need to know that so that we can direct the resources accordingly. That's
Mayor
sort of,
Grantham?
No, just a comment, and the purpose of bringing the motion, Chair, is to formalize the request. It's been on the, simmering in the back burner, and I would like to formally bring it to the front burner, so it's not just a chat. Paul, the budgeting, I know Q1 of 2025, we'd be past our budget. I'd be okay with Q2 2025 with a business case. And as you know, the way these work, they don't have to be completely fleshed out. I need something to go back to county council and county staff with reasonably fleshed out number that says whether or not we should proceed, right? And I may not have articulated that properly, Paul, but it's not down in the weeds that I'm looking for.
okay.
Okay, so you're looking for a motion for the preparation of a business case in Q2 of 2025, contemplating some type of build in
The
what is
county,
it? County of
Middlesex. Yes, I am.
Okay, is that okay, Paul?
Yeah, no, that's fair. And then I think just now I understand, I think what you're looking for. You're almost looking for almost like a proof of concept business case. You don't need the 50-page report. You need the 5-page report that
No,
says,
that,
I need
thank you for
X
that word.
dollars in 3 years, and this is what we can do.
That's it exactly.
Okay.
That's it exactly, Paul. Thank
Okay,
you.
so we understand. Let's move that and second it. I'm not going to move it. I'm going to let you move it, Mayor Grantham.
I'll move it.
Your proposal, someone prepared to second it. Greg is seconding it. Just a brief comment. I don't see, I think we need to get our regeneration plans out there. It's the future for us. It's what we need. And Middlesex County is an important part of our bailiwick. So I have no difficulties with business case. In fact, I'm curious to see it. I'd be very interested in seeing it. And please don't forget, we also, just in terms of regeneration, we've done Reimagine, and then Ladybrook is still sitting out there as a possible regeneration site for us. For those of you, Sarah, you're relatively new. Ladybrook, we were asked to take over the management of an area. I call it Ladybrook, but it's a townhouse development, rent geared to income. We've now taken over the management of it. And two of us sit on the board, myself and Kara, and Greg will actually be joining us given his expertise. And we're contemplating, or at least looking at that, the possibility of that being a source of regeneration of housing. Because our plan and what we've always advocated is a better mix of housing. Because when I hear today that the market value of our apartments is $1,000, boy, providing $1,000 apartments in the City of London for people would be such a help to working people who just are having trouble dealing with those, $1,500 to $2,000 rent. So I get kind of excited when I hear that. So I'm all in favor of this. So that's my 2 cents. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Before the vote, yeah, I'll vote in favor, then I'll make a comment.
Okay, so we've approved that. Mayor Grantham, I look forward to receiving that.
Yeah, just a comment, Chair, if you indulge me, I think looking at the regeneration projects as a board, it gives the board something to look forward to. This is more than talking about, day to day, and I think it helps in our communication with the public and with the elected officials to say we are looking forward, right? So I know, Paul, when that regeneration report comes out, we should trumpet that we're looking forward and not just day to day.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so that matter was approved. So that's the extent of the new business. Are there any inquiries? No. So all I need is a mover and seconder to adjourn. Before we do that, just please remember, I think there's a committee meeting is it in October or November for the
People Service and Housing meets on October 28th.
Yeah, so those of you who are
It's
on
a
that
fulsome
committee,
agenda.
you will be meeting on October 28th. Mayor Grantham is chairing that committee. Mayor Grantham and I have started to try to get back into meeting live where we can. People can still come by Zoom, but we welcome people to come and join us at LMCH. I don't get it. I do all my work on Zoom, so I don't get out of the house enough. So I'm happy to take that drive over there. So that's the next meeting we have this month. And thanks everyone for being here. Productive meeting. Really happy about the Strathroy approval. Really happy to be moving forward on what is a legitimate concern from Kathleen. So thank you very much, everyone. And I'll wish you all a good night. You can go have dinner. My cat is screaming for dinner, so I've got to go take care of that. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.